guys? Welcome back to the Training Camp Podcast.
The Training Camp Podcast.
I got a new chair.
With a multitude of guests.
Can't say he's wrong, am I right?
Oh, yeah. Dolphins.
No, I really like.
Stupid games.
5-0 last week. That's right. 5-0. Dak Prescott.
You could lock up that 4 seed. Again, it's not blazing hot, 65 degrees. I'm going to do this for fun.
They threw to Michael Thomas.
The Heat. How? Chicago. Yes, you guys get an F.
And a little too much personality.
No. Last week. No, Ravens?
Oh, fuck. Give me that.
No way. There's no way. Hammering. Free. Really, do not talk about him.
This one's my fault.
Flex the game. Here we go. Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome to the Training Camp Podcast. Actually filmed during the day, so it's not dark as shit like last week. Yeah. Look at me repping my school. Rarely ever wear University of Utah stuff. On a side note, I guess, Charlie Brewer, bye. Won't miss you a bit. Not at all. I know I don't talk a lot of college football, but obviously, like the only a couple of the schools, I only follow a couple of like schools, mainly because family reasons. Obviously, I follow the U. It's my alma mater. It's where I go to school. And then I follow the University of Pittsburgh because that's where my parents went. So those are the two main schools that I follow. And obviously, just living in Utah as well, I kind of follow like the Holy War. So when we lost the Holy War, good Lord, was that irritating. But yeah, Charlie Brewer, won't miss you. Can't wait for Cam to be our quarterback. Literally in one single game of football, Cam was 30,000 times better. We would have beat the absolute shit out of BYU if Cam was our quarterback. Mainly because Charlie, this is a quick rant real quick. Hey, Dylan. How are you, buddy? Mainly because, where was I? I got distracted. This happens a lot. Mainly because Charlie Brewer, when he transferred, I was like, oh, this would be cool. We'll have like a quarterback who has a good arm and he's mobile. And then Charlie Brewer forgot he was mobile. And that was very apparent in the BYU game. But now Cam, who knows he's mobile and uses his mobility, I'm excited for him. I don't think Utah is going to finish the top 25 this year, mainly because when you start off the way they have, it's going to be really hard. But we have some important games coming up. Anyways, we're not here to talk about college football. Sorry, this is important. Dylan, you're an idiot. Oh boy. Okay, that was actually work related right there. Anyways, so let's hop into news of the week after that rant. Not that much this week. It's all injury news. Let's be real, because that's what the NFL season is now. Okay. That's still not it. Okay, Connor, listen, I have a lot going on today. Today is actually like a huge thing. I might talk about it in the future. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, so news of the week. Justin Fields, he is announced to be the starter for Chicago this week due to the Andy Dalton injury. Honestly, I think this is like probably the best thing that Chicago could have had happen. Not just like Fields starting, but if Fields is bad, then you can be like, yeah, we knew Fields wasn't ready. We just had to put him out there because Andy was hurt, and then you put Andy back in. I will say, I'm sorry, Justin. You have to go against, Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney and the entire Browns defense in your first ever start. So that's going to be interesting. But I do think, honestly, unless he throws 4 interceptions in this game, he's probably, from this point on, going to be the starter. I don't know if the Bears can win this. I think the spread is Cleveland -7. We'll talk about wallet winners later. Spoiler alert, they're not on my wallet winners. But I don't know. I think, honestly, my expectations for Justin Fields in this game are 150 pass yards and maybe a passing touchdown and 2 interceptions. That's probably what will happen. It's growing pains. Not every rookie is going to be Justin Herbert, and not every rookie is going to be Andrew Luck. So best of luck, Justin Fields. I'm actually really pulling for him. I feel bad for Chicago Bears fans because it's just been a really rough ride. Shout out Chip. It's been a really rough ride for them, and they haven't had a prominent quarterback in a long ass fucking time. As long as I've been alive, Jay Cutler is the closest thing they've had to a franchise quarterback. So I hope that Justin Fields can be that guy. Also, just like Justin Fields as a prospect and as a person and a player. Okay, next. This one hits. So Ben, as in Big Ben, and TJ, as in TJ Watt, and Tay, as in Deontay Johnson, are all questionable for this upcoming game against Cincinnati, and well, we'll talk about the Steelers and my NFL tiers, but yeah, this one sucks. Not much to say other than those are some of the most important guys on our team. Anyways, we'll talk about them later in NFL tiers. Tua is going to be out this week, and Jacoby Brissett will be starting. Honestly, call this controversial. Jacoby Brissett feels like the same quarterback as Tua Tagovailoa. Is that controversial? I feel like it might be. I don't know. I mean, they play the Raiders this week, so I mean they could win because this is a game a lot of people have been talking about. This is a game the Raiders should easily win because their defense has been dominating, their offense has been great, Derek Carr's been on point. And this is a game that on paper they should win this, but this is a game that the Oakland or Las Vegas loves to not win. Very similar to the Steelers. This is an easy win, and you don't win it. Yeah, I think honestly the Jacoby coming in, one of the better backups in the league, but I mean, if anything, this just kind of pushes Miami more to trade for Deshaun Watson, because this just kind of puts in the fact that, okay, Tua might just be injury prone. Obviously, this isn't his shoulder/back, which is what the injury was coming into the NFL. This is his ribs. But at the same time, it's okay, if we can't have you for even 75% of our games, you can't be considered a franchise quarterback for this team. I like Tua a lot. I think he deserves a lot better. I think people are a little too hard on him, myself included. But I mean, it doesn't help that Justin Herbert in the same draft class just came out and lit the world on fire. I think if Justin Herbert had just an average rookie season, then I think we'd be looking at him and Tua very similarly. But when you get taken before the guy who goes absolute ape shit, there's gonna be some criticism. But at the same time, I think it's two completely different situations. And then lastly, Carson Wentz, who now has injuries to both of his ankles, is going to be questionable for the game against Tennessee, and they're actually prepping, news came out earlier, that they're prepping both him and Jacob Eason to be the starters, just in case. And again, the two quarterbacks I was high on this year because of changes were Wentz and Sam Darnold, and so far, I'd like to say I've been right about Sam Darnold, and we'll see also tonight in the Thursday night game, or yesterday for you guys. Was I right? Because usually when I upload things after a game, they're not correct. And then Wentz was the other quarterback, mainly because he's going back with Frank Reich, and that system that really, really worked for him. So, if Wentz could stay healthy, I think he could still be a top 15 quarterback. I mean, there were times I genuinely, would have put money down that yes, Wentz is a better quarterback than Dak. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. But the MVP season for Wentz, I think that that showed us that I genuinely think Wentz could possibly get back to that. But if you're not going to be healthy and if you don't have that durability, then it's going to be really hard. I also feel bad for the Colts because you kind of traded for a guy that you were hoping, because I mean Wentz is still young. You were hoping for a franchise guy for the next 8 to 10 years, and if he's not going to have the durability issues and not be able to stay healthy, then you're not going to have that. The expectations for this game, they're probably, we'll talk about it in wallet winners. But yeah, no, that just sucks. Anyways, that's all for news of the week. Now let's hop into NFL tiers. Also, do you guys like the fact that we're only kind of doing news of the week, NFL tiers, and wallet winners? I feel like it made things less clunky. If there are certain things, if you guys still want me to talk about certain storylines, let me know. I just feel like the one reason I took out the storylines was because I kind of talk about the storylines in things like news of the week, in NFL tiers, and in wallet winners. So the one thing I have been thinking about bringing back is But I Mean, just because I really enjoyed doing But I Mean. Anyways, NFL tiers. So we have 2 risers this week and 4 drops. Okay. Let's talk about the risers first. Yeah, we'll talk about the risers first. So I have the Broncos. The Denver Broncos are rising up a tier. And I mean, it'd be kind of messed up if I didn't make them rise, considering they're now 2-0, and technically are the leaders of the AFC West division and the AFC. It's 2 weeks; anything can happen, honestly. But I do think that defense, absolutely great. They have a great running back room with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I honestly think that they'll probably move Melvin Gordon before the end of the season, just for anything because he's probably going to walk in free agency anyways at the end of the year, and they drafted Javonte Williams to be the future of that running back room. So, I mean, if Melvin Gordon can keep producing and Javonte Williams can keep growing, they're going to be set up in the future. Teddy Bridgewater is looking great. I actually do like Teddy being there, not only for their team, but I think it's good for Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock can sit behind Teddy because they're two very similar play styles, as in like mobility wise. I think Drew has a better arm, but Teddy just has, the veteranness to him. So, like, if Denver looks at Drew Lock next season and goes, I think Drew's matured and is ready to be the starter for this team, he could possibly be that. And I actually really like Drew Lock as a prospect. I think he did show us that he can be a really, really good player in the NFL. Their defense is great. I mean, obviously, losing Jerry Jeudy for possibly 3/4 of the season really sucks. But with Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Tim Patrick, and there's one more guy that I'm just absolutely disrespecting by not saying his name, and I feel really bad. Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton. Who's the other receiver? Oh my God. Can't remember. Anyways, just they have a lot of talent. Their O-line also has been a very big surprise in my eyes. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater will be having as much success as he is having without the O-line kind of saving his ass. Every single time they snap the ball. So I think I don't think the Broncos will win this division, obviously. Same with the Raiders. I don't talk about the Raiders in the NFL tiers. They didn't move for me, but like those two teams aren't going to win this division. But I think that also kind of like with the Raiders, I think the Broncos and the Raiders are two teams that you can keep your eye out for to make a wild card spot. I think the Broncos with Teddy Bridgewater in a really good spot, and Vic Fangio is kind of playing for his coaching job. So yeah, they do have a pretty mediocre schedule because that's what happens when you finish third. They finished third. When you finish fourth in the division, you get an easier schedule. So they might be set up for a good 9-8, 10-7 season. And then the Cardinals I have rising as well. Yeah, Kyler Murray, he was actually my MVP pick last year. I thought he'd be the MVP because a lot of second-year players just have that growth. But this third year for Kyler, he looks as sharp as last year. I mean, they didn't really make that many changes to the offense besides drafting Rondale Moore and adding James Conner and AJ Green in free agency. And most of their changes came in the defensive side, but somehow Kyler just looks even better than last year. I would not be surprised if he won MVP or at least finished top 3 in voting for MVP. I mean, his mobility helps out a lot. But, I mean, you can't just be giving this credit to Kyler. I think Cliff Kingsbury, I do like... Cardinal fans seem to hate Cliff Kingsbury as a coach. I really like him, mainly because he takes risks that he took in the collegiate when he was a coach for Texas Tech. So, I do like Cliff Kingsbury. I think it's going to take him time to kind of bring over the system he had in college to the NFL and kind of adjust it for the game. But, I mean, overall, I do like what Cliff Kingsbury is doing. I think the defense has taken that next step. I think having a veteran like J.J. Watt is going to help, and also a great future Hall of Famer in Leki Fotu, Harriman High School, really helps. I think that this is a team that, in my eyes, was before the season started, I was telling people, I would not be surprised if Arizona won this division. And at the same time, this is a division where every single team could have a record good enough to make it into the playoffs. But I think between the Cardinals and the Rams, those two are my favorite. The Cardinals and the Rams, those two are my favorite teams in this division, mainly because of the changes that they made and also just kind of like the direction that they were going in. So I really like the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals I would not be surprised if by the end of the year they end up in my top 2 tiers. So yeah, shout out to the Cardinals. Okay, now let's go to the drops. We're going to talk about this team last. So the Colts dropped mainly because of the Carson Wentz injury. It's not that I'm not high on them. It's just without, you're putting in a rookie quarterback in Jacob Eason if Wentz doesn't play. And also a hobbled Wentz is not ideal. Their defense has been okay. Their O-line has been okay. Jonathan Taylor's been okay. It's just they're not really living up to the standards that I have right now. I don't see them right now as a playoff team. I see them still as a 500. That's not a thing anymore, but a 500 team. But I just don't see them sneaking into a wild card spot unless Wentz is healthy and they kind of get cards going their way. Also, it looked like Tennessee kind of got their mojo back essentially last week against a really good team in Seattle. So, I mean, the AFC South was going to be up for grabs between Indianapolis and Tennessee. I did think Indianapolis would be able to get it because of the addition of Carson Wentz and the offensive line, the defense and everything, and Jonathan Taylor year 2. But, I mean, it's looking like, unless a miracle happens, Tennessee's probably going to win this division. And like I was kind of saying with the Broncos and Raiders, it's going to be hard for the Colts to sneak into a wild card spot just because the AFC is looking really good this year. The Saints dropped. Yeah. Was week 1 just growing pains for Green Bay? genuinely asking that. Like, the Saints just looked all kinds of bad. I mean, obviously, I kind of predicted that in my wallet winners last week, but like, their defense did not look as good as it was in week 1. Their offense did not look great. Jameis Winston looked like the Jameis Winston of old, not the Jameis Winston of new. Alvin Kamara looked bad. I mean, they don't have any weapons offensively. Their defense did suffer some injuries, so I will say that. But I mean, unless Carolina's like the real deal, kind of how I thought they could have been in the preseason, like, then I don't see any real excuses for the Saints in this game. I mean, this is a team I'd like to say could go 9-8 and probably should minimum because of Sean Payton and that defense. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if this team won 6 or 7 games, mainly because you're in a really tough division and you finished really well last year record-wise. So you're going to have a really rough schedule. But I wouldn't write them off yet because I think it could just be a situation of growing pains with Jameis Winston. But yeah, no, with the way they've been performing, as in last week, like, I'm going to drop them a little bit. Call that an overreaction. Third team, we have the New York Jets. Yeah, sorry guys, you're in the dog shit tier. I apologize. But Zach Wilson, I was high on Zach Wilson, and I still am high on Zach Wilson. Just not in the Jets system. In the preseason, he obviously looked great, but I think it's because you're playing against preseason players. I thought Zach Wilson could have been like a really great player year 1 if he landed in the right situation. Kind of like if he would have landed like where Trey Lance went, if he would have landed with a Niners or a Bears or a team that even he could have just sat behind for a year. I remember in early mock drafts, they had Zach Wilson going to Pittsburgh at 25, 6, like that area. And I would have loved that because then you can sit behind a veteran quarterback for a year or a year and a half or 2 years or whatever, and then learn. And I think that would have been the ideal situation for Zach Wilson. But you put Zach Wilson behind now an injured and hobbled O-line, no offensive weapons aside from maybe Corey Davis, a struggling young defense, like, and a first-year head coach. It's gonna be really hard for him. I'm not saying he's like doomed to fail. It's his rookie year. I think. I know Jets fans weren't expecting a savior year 1. I think they're hoping for glimpses of it. It's only week 2, so it's not overreact. But for right now, just with the course that they're going on due to injuries and just all the year 1 coaches and players, like, I'm gonna temper my expectations. And this is a team that, again, maybe at max could win 6-7 games. And then lastly, yes, I had to drop my Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about this. I kind of breezed over it in injuries, or in news of the week when I was talking about the injuries. So, yeah, they lost to the Raiders, and they did beat Buffalo, which is the most fucking Pittsburgh sentence I've ever said in my life. So with the Raiders game, TJ left in the second quarter. Devin Bush didn't play. Joe Hayden didn't play at all. We lost Tyson Alulu in the first quarter to a broken ankle, and then we also lost Deontay Johnson somewhat, obviously not during the game, but at the end of the game. And there were a couple other minor injuries. Alex Highsmith got injured, so it was literally our defense was just completely hobbled. We had, a first-year cornerback. We had Minka kind of trying to run everything. We had Joe Sherbert, who is new to the system because he was traded for just a couple weeks ago. So, like, there was a lot of adjusting going on. And once TJ kind of went out, even though I will say TJ is looking like the defensive player of the year this year when he's on the field, once he went out, it kind of looked like, the defense wasn't going to be able to stop a runny nose. So I think that was the hardest thing. But a lot of people are saying Ben looks bad. I'm going to go back to what I was saying last year. I don't think Ben looks as bad as people are thinking it. I just think because people watch highlights from the game and go, oh, yeah, Ben's looking bad in this highlight. But if you're watching the rest of the game, like, there was a play where Ben, under pressure, is able to move out of the pocket, which he didn't do last year, fun fact. He moves out of the pocket, he steps up, and as he's getting sacked, just throws it to Najee Harris. Like, that's something that a bad old quarterback probably wouldn't do. Also, Ben does look thinner, so I'm going to give him that. But, like, speaking of Najee Harris, they're only running him 14, 15 times a game. If we want to win football games, we don't need Ben to throw it 35 to 50 times. We need Ben to throw it 30 max, and we need Najee to carry the ball 25 times and get 5 to 10 receptions. Like, that's how we need to do this. The offensive line, I will say, has been somewhat improved. Obviously, Trey Turner got ejected in this game, so that was going to flip the game script as well. I think Pittsburgh could have easily won this Raiders game, but right now I think it's growing pains with a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive system. There are certain players they're not using like Derek Watt, and until I start seeing actual changes being made, which I have seen some. There've been a lot of shifts pre-snap. There've been a lot of new formations. There've been a lot of new just kind of plays that Pittsburgh doesn't usually do. The scheme is different. It's not just run pass on third down or run draw like it was in the past for the past 3 years. Like there are new schemes going on, but until I actually see more of those, I can't raise them up to be a possible playoff team. I just can't. I can't even, like, it's really hard to even see them as a looking into the playoff team right now because of how good this division is. Coming and playing Cincinnati this week, like, that's going to be a hard game. And if Ben and TJ and Tay are all out, like, I don't know what to expect. So, I mean, at best, I think this could be a 10 and 11 win team and sneak into a wild card spot. I don't think they can win the division again just because of how good Baltimore and Cleveland are. And at worst, I think that, this is a team that could win 7 to 8 games, just because of injuries and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be hard, but obviously Steelers fans have kind of been spoiled over the past, as long as I've been alive, we've been a good team and like one of the top 5 franchises in the NFL every single season. So yeah, it's 21 years. At least of just, being spoiled of how good you are. And even in the 90s, Pittsburgh was pretty good. They went to the Super Bowl in the 90s, obviously, as well. So, yeah, there's going to be rough patches, and there's definitely one coming for Pittsburgh soon. But for right now, I have to drop them in my NFL tiers. Okay, that was depressing. Let's move into Wall winners. Okay, last week. Good week. Also, how am I 2-0 in upsets? That's really weird. If I go 17-0 in upsets, I will buy a ticket to the Super Bowl. This is me shaking with myself. That's the bet. If I go 17-0, it's not gonna happen, guys. It's not gonna happen. But no. So last week I went 4-1. Technically, one of the ones is a push because it was a minus. It was -3 for I think it was the Chicago game. It was I think it was the Arizona game. No, Arizona, I got wrong. One of the games, it was a push, but I'm just going to count it as a win because we didn't really do pushes last year. So 4-1, great. Overall, that puts me up to 6-4, so I'm above 500. Thank God. That's my goal for this entire year, is just be above 500. Spread, I'm at 500, so that's going to happen. And somehow the upsets are saving my ass at 2-0. So let's hop into this week's Wall winners. So first one. Indianapolis is going to Tennessee, and Tennessee's a 5-point favorite. Obviously, I kind of talked about Indianapolis especially in the NFL tiers, but also a little bit in news of the week because of the injury to Carson Wentz. -5 is a pretty big spread for a divisional game, but whether it's a hobbled Carson Wentz or a rookie Jacob Eason, I don't know who to trust. So Tennessee, especially that they're home, they're coming off of a big win. Derrick Henry's got his wheels back. Like, this is a game Tennessee should probably just easily win, and 5 points is a lot, even though I technically do have them winning by way more than 5. I have them winning 31-17. Next, New York Giants are hosting Atlanta, and New York's only a 3-point favorite. Have we been watching the Atlanta defense, Vegas? Because that defense is bad, and Daniel Jones somehow ate up the Washington defense. So, and the Denver defense. So, yeah. 3 points? Really? Yeah, I'm taking that. I mean, especially the game being in New York. They're getting Evan Ingram back. Saquon's still kind of finding his groove. Atlanta is lost. I don't know what Atlanta is right now. I think it's a rebuilding team. I don't know. It's a mess is what it seems like. And so with all the moving parts and with how good Daniel Jones is playing and just the Giants defense and just the team in general, I really have to take New York here -3. So I think New York can win this. I have them winning by 6. So double the spread, 27-21. Cincinnati goes to Pittsburgh. Yeah, I could have used this as the upset of the week, but we'll talk about the upset of the week later. But technically, I do have them upsetting. So if you want to bet the odds, bet the odds. But Cincinnati's +3 going to Pittsburgh. But, I mean, come on. If Ben's not going to play, I have no hope. It's either going to be Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins. Probably Mason Rudolph. No Deontay Johnson. That's weird. Possibly no TJ Watt. That's going to suck. No Tyson. Like, all the injuries I just talked about. Like, I don't care if it's in Pittsburgh. This is going to be a hard game. Joe Burrow looks great. Jamar Chase. Like, Pittsburgh doesn't have the secondary nor corners to really match up with how good their wide receivers are. So, This is going to be a rough one. Yeah, Pittsburgh's probably going to lose this game. I have it 28-20. Pittsburgh hasn't been able to put up points, so without Ben, how are we going to do that anyways? Last spread game. New England hosts New Orleans, the game of the matchup of the news. New England's a 3-point favorite. New Orleans looked really bad last week against what we aren't sure is a good Carolina defense, and now they're playing what we know is a good defense with New England. I don't see how the Saints can be that much better than last week. I have them putting up more points than last week. I have them keeping it closer than last week. But with the game being in New England, and with how good Carolina's offense looked last week, obviously I don't think New England's offense is as good as Carolina's offense. But New England does have has the best head coach of all time. I think you'll be able to figure this out. So I don't think this is a hard one to talk about. New England will win this game. And 3 points, I mean, again, I technically have three 3-point spreads this week. So, like, if it's a field goal or if it's 2.5, just take it. So yeah, New England will win 26-21 at home. And then the upset of the week. How is this team an underdog? Green Bay is the underdog going to San Francisco at plus 155? Like, don't get me wrong. I know that Green Bay looked really bad against New Orleans, but and I know the first half looked really bad against Detroit. Are we overreacting to that? Is that why the spread's minus 3.5 for San Francisco? San Francisco doesn't have really an offense. They lost every running back possible. Brandon Ayuk has not been able to produce. Jared Alexander's probably going to be on Deebo Samuel, which means Deebo Samuel's probably the one guy that's been able to produce, probably not going to pop off. If San Francisco's going to win this game, they need Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle to pop off. This is going to be a really hard game. I know that obviously San Francisco has a good defense, but Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb now looks like his old self, MVS, Alan Lazard. This team is looking great. And obviously the offensive line's hobbled, but I don't know. I just think Green Bay after the halftime of last week's game is just going to start finding their groove. So yeah, I have this kind of not being a really close game. I gave San Francisco quite a few points for the over-under. I think the over-under was 49. I kind of hammered the over, but I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco didn't even put up 24 points. But yeah, Green Bay is going to win that 35-24. Cool. Damn. Did the podcast super early today, so I got the rest of the day. Well, I don't. I have plans. Like I said, I might talk about that later. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you guys for watching the podcast. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts on anything that I talk about. Also, I'm going to try to start getting guests on more. We haven't been doing that lately just because of the pandemic, and I've been trying to limit all that, make sure everyone's comfortable as possible. But if you guys want to see guests, let me know. I miss having people in the studio. Also, might decorate for Halloween again. I don't have a lot of time right now. It's crazy. Growing up sucks. But yeah, I'm not gonna hold it on for too long. I like how the podcasts have gone a little shorter. I think 45 minutes is a little too much. It was a little bit of an overkill. So I think the 20 to 30 realm was perfect for you guys. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching the podcast, guys. I'll see you guys next episode.